Welcome to our press availability. I don't have any opening comments. Do you, Representative Dunnigan?
No, Mr. Speaker.
All right. Let it begin.
Would either of you like to address the controversial comments that Representative Green made yesterday?
Okay, the over-under was like 5 seconds.
See, I almost asked it.
Yeah, I just thought, maybe it'll get maybe 10 seconds. So I think there's been a statement that's been released that I think it speaks for itself, but I will say this, that bill passed out unanimously. It had unanimous support. In a citizen legislature, you're going to have attorneys, you're going to have a process where lawmakers look for unintended consequences. And it's a very touchy issue. It's a very sensitive subject. And I think the intention of Representative Green was to explore unintended consequences. But I think he would tell you that he'd like to choose his words more carefully. And but I think for those that would read the initial reports of that committee, I hope that people understand that bill passed unanimously, and that the sponsor's intent was embraced by everybody on that committee to make sure that prosecutors have tools in their toolbox that can do their job and protect those that are victims of sexual assault.
What would he mean by unintended consequences? Do you understand?
It's all in definitions. I don't know. When you're in a hole, quit digging. So I don't know how much of this I can even talk about where you try to explain what someone meant. But I would just say this. So much of legislation up here, regardless of the topic, is the definitions that the words that you use and the definitions you use and what could be left out or anyway. So I just think that that's a scrutiny that we all pay to bills in general. But you just have to be careful when you're asking those questions and maybe the impressions that you leave.
Were you surprised when you saw the stories, or did you speak with him?
I visited with Representative Green, and I think his comment or his statement that he's released speaks for itself on that front.
You visited him after seeing the stories, the initial stories,
Yes.
just to see what really happened, or what his thinking was?
Get the context. I mean, I don't believe everything you guys write. You know?
Did you suggest you do the clarification without
I think that when the coverage came out, I don't think anyone had to suggest anything. I think there was a desire to clarify just inherently.
We got firing squad on the agenda this afternoon, and Representative Ray has another bill that would make child sex traffickers eligible for the death penalty. Any thoughts on either of those proposals? Representative Dunnigan?
I don't have that long thought. I took that one first on top of it.
Well, I'd just like to echo what the speaker previously said about the firing squad. And as far as adding crimes for the death penalty, I think we need to do that carefully and wisely. But there may be some circumstances, certainly child trafficking going on is atrocious and a travesty for our society. And if we can do something that will provide a deterrent or a result, then it may be beneficial to consider.
So open to discussing it or hearing about it?
I expect it to be discussed.
Throw you a softball. So what do you think of the golden retriever as the state dog, or getting
That's actually gonna be
That is so
to me,
unfair. That, I have never heard a question like that leave from you. That is.
Thank you, I'll accept that.
Remember the cat lovers.
I will use this as an
Yeah,
example.
so
for the rest of my life.
I hate to see us go down that path of pairing or, one animal against the other, pitting, no pun intended, dogs like pit bulls against cats. And how do we decide, which animal is appropriate for that designation? I think it's probably better that we don't have that designation.
I'm agnostic on breeds of dogs as your state official dog.
Well, I hope that we spend our time up here wisely. And we have significant issues that we need to take a lot of our time and brain power. This session, I hope we devote our time to that. And maybe somebody could ask themselves, is there anything more important than trying to come up with a name for the state dog or the state animal? Or the state rabbit. Our family was rabbits, by the way. There's bunny rabbits. We weren't cats or dogs. Thank you for that hard question.
I had a German
Yeah,
Shepherd
you love that one.
as a kid. Forever.
I missed the speaker's previous statement on firing squad. Would you repeat that, please?
I was waiting. Did you have another question?
Yeah.
The speaker's point, just to reiterate, is if somebody is subject to the death penalty and they are put to death, then they're out of the game. They're put to death. And I think personally, I prefer the medical route or the drugs that we're using now. But I do think that the death penalty is a worthwhile penalty to have for those crimes that are really atrocious. And we'll see where the legislation goes.
I understand Dr. Patton was in with the Conservative Caucus this morning. There's some more discussion about Healthy Utah, and I'm just wondering if there's any update on where we are on that subject.
We are continuing to work on it. Had a meeting with Dr. Patton, Michael Hales after that meeting, just talking about different paths forwards. I know a number of us in the legislature continue to have dialogue with the governor's folks, trying to come up with the right solution. We're looking at what other states are doing. It seems like on a regular basis now, other states are coming up with things that perhaps advance the ball of flexibility or innovation beyond where we even saw ourselves just a few months ago. In fact, I was back in Washington with the governors several months ago, and we asked for one piece of flexibility called logging out. If people don't pay their premium for Medicaid expansion, and the answer was no, we can't do that. We're not going to let you keep people out of Medicaid even if they don't pay their premium. And we said, what's the disincentive for people to not pay their premium? Because you can't cancel them for 90 days, and yet they still have coverage for 90 days. You cancel them, and then the next day they can sign right up and they got full coverage again. They never pay. So we said, let us make them stand by or lock them out for a period of time so that there's some consequence to not living up to their end of the agreement. So they have some skin in the game. And at that time, we were told no. They just granted that to a state, 6-month lockout. So it seems like as time goes on, more flexibility is given. And that's one thing Arkansas has learned, somewhat to their chagrin now. They want to redo. So Arkansas was the first state to come out with a premium partnership private sector solution. And now they're seeing what other states have gotten that they didn't get. And so they're saying, we're ending our program in 2 years. We want to reboot it and see what additional things we can get. So it's very much in flux, in play. As I think we stated before, we want something that's affordable, sustainable, and addresses the uncertainty as much as possible.
The state with the lockout, was that Indiana?
I believe it was Indiana.
Let's just do a couple more questions.
Anything?
We're on our last couple questions, so.
You got nothing.
Okay,
Your floor, we're done.
let me just let him turn the camera on then.
Anything we didn't ask about that we should have?
Why is Representative Dunnigan such a great majority leader? He's a stalwart leader of the House, manages that floor like no one else.
Are both of you going to play in our basketball game this year?
At that height, how could he done it? I don't know.
Yeah, we might need to schedule a meeting that night.
Yeah, sure.
Well, last year they scheduled it right during their.
That's
meeting.
right. Yeah, it was like
It was hard to go.
yeah, I think we still didn't have any chance, but
As long as we have
We're going to come better
Congress.
prepared this year.
we are.
Oh, that's code for the ringers, by the way. I know what that means.
I remember several years ago, we played the executive branch, and the governor played over at the Delta Center, and Mark Shurtleff played along with others. The definition of executive branch somehow got really expanded. So Speaker Curtis, our rule was you could have it kind of be a legislator or the legislator's intern. So he brought in a person and made him an intern for a day. He sat up on the dais by Speaker Curtis, and it was Thurl Bailey. And so Thurl Bailey played on our team. That was a great addition.
That's right.
That's all we needed, we're good.
That's it, we're good here. We got it. You know, Thurl Bailey was on.
I'll ask you a question quickly, I'm sure you
Yes.
already discussed it. You know, HB 74 was discussed in the House Committee yesterday, and Representative Brian Green made some comments about whether or not having sex with an unconscious person constituted rape, and they were somewhat controversial. What do you think of the comments and the bill itself?
Representative Green has released a statement, and the statement, I think, adds his context, and I think it speaks for itself. I'll just say what I've talked to with people here. When we look at bills, we're always looking for unintended consequences or definitions of what words may or may not mean. It's important for the public to know that bill received unanimous support. The sponsor's intent in terms of giving tools to prosecutors was agreed upon. The bill moved along and was embraced. I think that what gets a little bit rougher in terms of our process up here in the legislature is that we're citizen legislators, and so we ask these questions to make sure that we're not. While the goal is good, there might be unintended consequences. And I think that's what Representative Green was trying to get a better understanding of. I think that if you read this statement, I think he could have chosen his words better. But I think that he's made a statement to that effect. So
What do you think of the proposal itself?
it's good. It's intuitive, and just as it received unanimous support in the committee, I don't see it having any delay here in the House.
Great, thanks guys.
Thank you. I think you